Journal entry to my younger self. You're not dyslexic. They just weren't ready for you. She asked me if I was dyslexic, but what she didn't realize that this is a trauma and something that's been within me since I was a child. This labeling of an individual that looks like me, where I'm from, what my background is. Something that plagued me and many Black and brown kids that look like me throughout our society. See, I heard it through a Black child's ears. Are you smart enough? Could you read well enough? Could you spell well enough? See, what you have to understand is this. I was never held back in school. I was actually very successful later in life. But that was a trauma to me that I've had to bear my entire life. I was labeled at a young age of being something. And understanding the lack of support and how that causes and affects individuals in our society that look like me. See, I fit all the stereotype markers for those that build and design prisons in this country. I'm an inner city kid. My father was in and out of prison throughout my childhood. But I had a rock, and that was my mother. A woman who worked 2 and 3 jobs just to provide for her son and was willing to do whatever it took to support her child. No matter what the design was. Unfortunately, in our society, when you look like somebody like me and you're raised in a certain neighborhood, there are impediments there that prevent you from excelling. But I was fortunate because I did have a mother that loved me and family that loved me, that wanted me to see successful and see me succeed. So I will say this, through my journey, I had to bear my pain. And when you have to face your pain, it's not always that easy. What I found in my process is this. Being an African-American male in this country, sometimes you're already labeled before you're even born. Think about my son. And so for me, when it comes to this work that we do as educators, my ask is that we don't prejudge. We take the time to learn and understand and get to know those that we're working with. As I grew up as an inner city kid, I faced all the normal challenges inner city kids do. But I had something that was a little bit different. I was 6'6" and 180 pounds and had all the dreams like those that look like me. I wanted to go to the NBA. I wanted to be the next Michael Jordan, the next Kobe Bryant, and take my family out of poverty. But it didn't happen for me. It didn't happen for me. But what did happen was this. I had a composition book as a kid. And like most kids, I used to draw in my composition book, talk about the things that were important to me, like what my favorite song was or who my crush was, right? Or who was better, Michael Jackson or Prince, right? I think we all know. Never mind. And so, but one thing about this composition book that I started writing in, specifically in 4th grade, was that I didn't share a lot about my emotions. Because where I came from, it wasn't okay and it wasn't cool to talk about your emotions and talk about your feelings. And you don't journal because that's for girls. Even though research has shown journaling helps with anxiety, depression, mental health, reflection, and recovery. See, my dreams of being the next NBA superstar didn't occur. And something happened to me when I was in fourth grade that changed my life and likely saved my life. My mother was afforded an opportunity. She was provided Section 8 housing. And yes, we all know the social dynamics and research that can be done around Section 8 housing. But what happened was I moved from a predominantly diverse neighborhood where I was excelling academically, socially, and athletically, to a predominantly white neighborhood where I was 1 in 5 Black kids in the school. And I went from performing at the top of my class to going quickly towards the bottom of my class. And let's not forget about the conscious and or unconscious racism that occurred there in this time. And so as a fourth grader, what am I supposed to do with all of that weight, right? Because remember, journaling is for girls. I can't talk about my emotions. I can't talk about my feelings because that's not acceptable in our society. And so what did I do? I stored it away. Because I had to survive. And what does it feel like being in this foreign environment when you're not seen, you're not heard, and you're not understood? I felt invisible. Bell Hooks talks about a quote in her book about Black men and masculinity. And she talks about how if you stereotype a child, you can dehumanize them and make them feel invisible. I was in fourth grade. 4 other people looked like me. I felt invisible. And it was this thing about that question that stuck with me. Are you dyslexic? How is it that I went from my bachelor's degree? Let's even take it back. How do we take it from my high school diploma, my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and sitting for my doctorate when this question is posed to me, are you dyslexic? Do you understand how far I had to come and what I had to go through just to get to the starting line? And you pose this question to me. I think about it because I heard it from a child's ears. I heard it from that fourth grader's ears. And so, as I'm here talking to you all about this, I'm thinking about some of these percentages about people in our society. As I talked about earlier, I had dreams of going to the NBA. But it's a stat that I remember critically in my time growing up. And that's 0.03% of high school basketball players will ever play at the next level, which is the NBA. But I'm also reminded about this other percentage, and that's African Americans. Africans make up 13% of the population in the United States, right? But I'm also thinking about this percentage around, but African Americans make up 38% of those incarcerated in prison in this country. But only 4.6 of those individuals that have higher degrees in this country, or not even have higher degrees, that are just enrolled in this country in higher education. 4.6%. So here I am thinking about this, knowing that I wanted to be a part of that 4.6, but also remembering those are just 4.6 individuals that are in higher education, not that completed. And I think about that 4-year-old, right? That gentleman in fourth grade, and what I needed around that time. I needed to be seen. I needed to be heard, and I needed to be validated. And it took about 10 years later that I found a program by a dear friend of mine the program is called 916 Inc. And the founder of it is Katie McCleary. And what she did is design a program for inner city kids that focuses on not only their writing, but also time to be able to be seen, to be heard, and to be validated. And it was with my time working with Katie that I also got introduced to a program called the Gavel Club, which is a program inside Folsom Prison. All of y'all heard about Johnny Cash and Folsom Prison. I'm sure you guys know about it. And so, which is an international Toastmasters program that allowed me to work with inmates inside the prison. Now, one other piece that I might not have shared with you is that my father was in and out of prison. I remember getting letters in the mail, postcards from my father, because he got caught up in the inner city politics within this country. And so I had to grow up with a father not in my home and be able to see some of these men that are in prison that look just like me, are supposed to be the hardest and the toughest criminals. And I don't know if you know the social dynamics within our prison systems, but you often have blacks over here, Latinos over here, whites over here, Asians over here. But I was so fortunate to be a part of this program that we had them all in one room, writing and sharing their stories with one another. Now, outside of that room, it looked totally different. But in that room, all that machismo, masculinity thing, all dropped. We have men in here sharing love songs, showing stories about their children, about their mom, about their parents, about where they're from, the food that they eat. Too much in this society, we put little boys in this space where we don't allow them to develop fully. We validate our little girls. We validate their emotions. They have friends, colleagues, people that support them. But for our little boys, we often don't have those support circles. Little boys are taught to master a couple things: anger, protection, and providing. What about love? What about smiles? What about joy? And it was through this time that I created a program called Real Men Write. And I had the opportunity to not only work with people in prison system, but my two little boys, Trey and Titus, to help them explore different emotions. Yes, you have to do those three things as well, but I need you to be amazing, emotional, in touch individuals with not only what's going on with you, but what's going on in the world. If you feel like crying, it's okay. Let's cry. Come give daddy a hug. Let's talk about it. But too often we place these limitations on our little boys, and they're supposed to be in one category. And us as educators need to continue to develop our little boys. We got this. We got this. So I do want to leave with you this. Stop limiting our little boys, because what they will do is grow into limited young men and then become limited emotional men. We need to continue to develop them. The next time that you go out and you buy a little boy a basketball, a football, a baseball, buy that little boy a journal and a pen. Sit down with him. Show him how to write. Let him expose all of these emotions that he may have pent inside, because our society normally doesn't allow us to do that. As I close, I want to leave you with one journal entry. Journal entry to my future self. Live for the day, Mike, for the legacy that you will leave tomorrow. You're a great husband. You're a great father. You're a great son. TEDx, I'm here to save lives, not just slap high fives. Thank you.